Anyways,
100%.
let's move to the second part of our conversation. There's a reason why I started with religion first, because religion plays a huge psychological role.
True.
It is a mental imperialist agenda or campaign whereby they control our minds. And once they control your mind, then they control your thought process, they control your actions. As long as your mind is being controlled to a very large extent, you're predictable. Now, in our society today, you and I are young, but we have our elders who have lived longer than us. Our parents and the elderly in the society. And when I say elderly in the society, I'm talking about at least from 55 up onto 80 and above. These people have engaged with religion, they've engaged with governments of the day. So somebody who is 60 years, 70 years, maybe today when begin votes.
Of course.
In fact, even senior Nigeria. You're 70 today, you senior Nigeria. You are here when you were born. They don't born you when they created the country. So you've seen all their political turmoil and everything alongside the whole religious campaign going on. Fine. Then begs the question, do you think that our parents in the society, do you think that our elderly members, elderly citizens of our society, do you think that they themselves have a role to play in their own liberation and our liberation as the younger generation?
100%, they have a role to play. And it's because of their cowardness that has got us to this position that we are today. They neglected their role. Yes, I understand. I'm not a bastard child that will use my left hand to point my parents' house. Say, okay. No, I understand that they had difficulties, they themselves, because you have to understand they were coming out freshly out of colonization, meaning they were not really, they would not understand the game that was being played on them. But at a certain point in time, you have to be able to reason logically. At a certain point, as a people, okay, we came out of this nonsense. We have done 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Enough is enough. We have given this nonsense our years, plus the one of the colonial years, and this one, at least we have given it up to 100 years to show us workings. That, okay, this thing actually works for us. Not to use it to compare the European, the person that gave you, because the person that gave you might not give you all the source code that he's using. He might give you half-baked code to use, and it will never work for you because he is the originator. So we are not going to use European standard. We as African, okay, we have accepted these people's religion, we have accepted their culture, we have accepted pretty much everything that they give us. Has it worked for us? No. Why is it not working for us? Because it interferes with our own custom and traditions. That is the thing that African people don't want to accept. You see, the problem is that a lot has been done. A lot has been spent on demonizing our culture. So, to African people, it's like the moment they acknowledge their culture is not actually their problem, but their strength. It's like, I rather die than to accept that nonsense. That is the problem. That is the benchmark of all the problems we are facing as a race. It is not because of there is Christianity, politics, economics. It's not even what the world are doing to us that is the problem. The problem is we as Africans, we don't want to accept our culture. Because the moment you accept your culture, the moment all these people becomes nuisance to you, you now start thinking for yourself and for your next generation. Because it's in your culture you get inspiration, you get ideas, you get philosophy. All the ideas the West is using to operate the world is based on their culture. All the ideas the Chinese is using to operate the world. Look at it today. Okay, how the Europeans operate the world when they were in power? Through violence. Conquer, conquer, conquer. The Chinese now are in power, but they are not using military conquer to conquer the world. They are using economical conquer. That means economical power to conquer the world. You see what China is doing? Because if you go and look at China history, from day one, the Silk Road was about Chinese wealth, trade. China has always been on trade. They are not militarily the best country in the world. They're based on trade. You see, gotten from their culture, from the Han dynasty to the Ming to the whatever dynasty. That is what they have been doing. Trade, simple. Africans, instead of us to look at, okay, what does our culture, what is our cultural basis that we can use to affect our environment? We refuse to look at it. We are busy trying to be European, and we are failing at that. We are failing. So the
Failing wolf.
The problem is that it's not. The problem is that if today, not see, and when I say let's go back to our culture, I'm not talking of spirituality. Spirituality is another having thing. I'm talking of just us seeing our culture and say, you know what? Why can't we make vernacular our official language? Why can't we start translating books into vernacular? Why can't we start making sure that our children, the hairstyle, our ladies and their hairstyle, will promote African hairstyle? Because the reason why all these things are not making sense to us is because there's no funding for these things that will make it look attractive. Why can't we, okay, let's say, okay, today we are going to do away with most English word. We are going to start finding a way to tailor-made our own fabric. Imagine that Africa is importing wrapper from China. Wrapper? You don't ever, which African country they export Chinese clothes to China? That they are Chinese
Clothes,
this is exporting it to them.
Everywhere, yeah.
You see, all these things. So the problem I think our parent has is that all of them doesn't want to identify themselves with the culture. Why, when they won't identify themselves with the culture, behind their mind, they are like, make we just do one. Make them not say we don't do one. You understand? That's why many of them, even when they do traditional marriage, they will still run to the church to seek validation there. Because they don't love the culture. They don't see the culture as anything good. On my page, someone was telling me it's African culture that used to brutalize women. And I'm like, but not the me talk, say submit to your husband. My country is more submit to man. Now, what you read every Sunday, I tell you, is that African culture, but they don't want to. So I think our parents, the greatest problem that most of them had was that they hated the culture. Hence, they couldn't get any inspiration to go fight the government because they hated, because the government was running on colonial principles. So it was all about select few against the rest, give select few money, resources to oppress the rest. So, and our culture doesn't do that. That's not what our culture like. So you see why they couldn't identify, because within them like, you see, make them get so that nobody will feel drag with them. You see, personally, myself. And African culture, the first problem is that it is not self-based, it's communal based. So problem don't come. You see why they didn't do what they are supposed to do, because they don't like the culture. It's not politics, it's the culture. The culture is the major thing that they hate. All African parents, most of them, the problem they have is with the culture. And not these things that you see, the real culture. Not this, they don't have a problem with all these dowries and all these things that we think that, that's what they. The main basis of the culture, that communalism that everybody must have, everybody must be satisfied. That is where the problem lies. Because if you accept that, what is stopping Nigeria from becoming the greatest country on earth? What is, if all of us, our parents today now say, you know what, we will not sleep until everybody has a house built by the government. We will boycott everything. We will close down this country until when everybody has a house built by government. Education is free. Everything is free. Everybody has at least.
Do you think that if we were to march out on the streets, to shut down the country, we are marching down towards Aso Rock, we are not just marching down and say we are standing at Lekon Bridge, or we are standing at phase 1, phase 2 junction, that we are coming out in mass and we are marching towards Aso Rock to tell the government of the day to evacuate and give room to a new dawn. Do you think that if they send the army to shoot down these people, our people, the youths, and they find our elderly mothers and fathers in front, that they will shoot them down?
I think they will. Because you have to understand that this system that we operate on, like I said, it is built on hate and fear. So they use, you see that's the problem. That hate and fear. They use the hate of, this is not my tribe. They are coming to take my job. They are coming to take my livelihood and pump you. to kill your brothers and sisters. They use the fear of, okay, if this person comes into power, this alawi wey you get, if you no get that, all the atrocities where you don't commit, they feel can't jail you for am because you sef don't be part of the system with your president. You see now, because they have used these two things to capture the minds of Africans that are in the professional spaces, they would never want to align themselves with the poor people of Nigeria. That's why they would rather kill innocents to always protect their interests and the interests of their master. That is the problem. So I believe they will shoot them.
Lovely. Anyways, the reason why I asked that is because I see that we have younger people, and even though we can, I mean, I agree with you that they will still shoot at them. But if we have younger people that are willing to make this march, should they not have the support of the elderly? Who should be more afraid of losing their life? Is it the younger ones who have a huge future ahead of them? Or is it the elderly ones who still have, who have not much time ahead of them, but who have enough time to build a better society for their children? Do you think that the revolution should be devoid of the participation of the elderly, or that they should be highly involved in the revolution and liberation of ourselves?
I think today both is needed, to be honest, to have a successful revolution that will change the country in the way we want. Both
we need to have the young and the old.
Both the young and the old has to be involved. And in the way they will be involved is that the old needs to give us wisdom, strategy. We are the muscle. The young people really don't know how to read between the lines. That's why when our ancestors say, if you climb to a local tree, you will never see what the older person is saying. It's not because they just said it because they are fools, but it is the truth. Like now, I can tell you, just look at one of the propaganda, because propaganda is what make young people don't understand, because we are susceptible to propaganda. For instance, if I tell someone to describe the future, so what do you think a lion is? You say the lion is the king of the jungle. You say the lion can roar, and the lion is the one that hunts animals. But let's be realistic. Lion lives in savannah. They don't live in jungle. Tall grasses, that's where lion lives in. But 90% of the youth thinks that lion lives in the jungle. That's why it's the king of the jungle. Lion doesn't, their roar is like, if you hear when lions are roaring, it's very irritating. It's not as sexy as they make it out to be in Lion King. Lion doesn't hunt. It's the lioness that hunts, right? Lions don't hunt. It's the lioness that hunts. Now, this characteristics that is given to a lion it's actually the characteristics of a tiger or even a jaguar living in the grassland. The tigers live in jungle. That's why they are the king of the jungle. But they have find a way to give lion these characteristics. Now, young people will never know. But an older person that have seen the world would know and tell the young ones that, don't fall for that trick. This is who you are supposed to be watching out for. The tiger in the jungle. You will never see a lion in the jungle. So now you now going to the jungle thinking, I will meet one lion and I will kill him.
Yes.
Not aware that this is actually a tiger you will meet that is more ferocious than even a lion. You see now how you have turned prey to the tiger without even knowing. Now, this is why the experience of the elders are needed in the revolution, because they have seen some things we have not seen. We were just full of energy, just like a dog that is full of energy. You want to run around. That's why you hear every time, maybe when Shenwu is talking, on the comment section, you'll be seeing young people say, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Let us take to, like, if you are taken to the street,
the younger ones are ready to
smash the door open. But it's not by smashing the door open that will bring about what we want. We don't want to do something that will regret, like millions of people will die. We don't want, yes, Chamama of China did a good job, but at what cost? People die. At what cost? If we can get a Nigeria that will work, an Africa that will work for us without bloodshed, why not take that route? That's why I don't believe in all these nation group and IPOB and IPOB and Yoruba nation and Islamic nation. Because at the end of the day, all what you people are doing is giving guns to young people to go to the street and unalive themselves, which You and I know Nigerian government is the king of killing Nigerians. So what kind of weapon you want to show them, or what kind of ruggedity you want to show them, which they never do? Any terrorist group don't kill 1,000 people,
Yeah.
but Nigerian government don't kill 1,000 people under Obasanjo and more. Any terrorist group for Nigeria don't kill 3 million people or 3 million Nigerians, but Nigerian government don't do them. So which kind kill you want kill? Whether you think say go fear them into say okay we surrender. These people are born killers, and you still want us to tell you to go and carry arms. I'm not gonna say arm no go dey fit no dey e no fit happen. It fit happen, but why not try political power, like through political means first? Why not try forming a party,
Yes.
organizing yourself, and the only way we can do this is by our old people. The reason why many political parties that is Pan-Africanist are falling is because our old people are not willing to put in their experience. And not only their experience, their resources. Because the older generation has gotten some form of money more than the younger generation. Like, look at Nigeria now. If you're a young boy, if you're not into fraud or one kind of illegal, there is no pathway for you to even get something for yourself. Now, the
Nothing for you to make money
older
with.
people have benefited from Nigeria, even if it's been bad or Nigeria is not the best country, but they have somehow benefited through government work, through when the economy was kind of friendly. Now, they need to put those resources back into the struggle and their wisdom to help bring about another generation that will be able to stand up for themselves. So I think they are very important. They are very important.
Well, I mean, I really like your take on this, our elderly people. It's very insightful. I mean, you already started off by saying that, they were, most of them came out fresh from colonial era. They didn't really understand what was going on. But the blessings of time has given them that period to experience, study, understand the system in which they exist. But what we are seeing is that they are not giving out the right reaction to the stimulation around them.
They are in churches and mosques.
They're not doing. In fact, the thing is, instead of them to educate, guide, and even ginger the younger ones that this is what we should have done, we missed that opportunity. But here you are to do it, and we will help make sure that you guys do it. Instead of them to do that, it seems they are falling into some sort of mediocrity and dependency on the younger ones to figure this whole thing out by themselves.
True.
And solve the problem.
True.
Which is very wrong. You hear some elderly people saying, is this young people, or is it people, is your turn now, you people will save us. How do you want us to save you? And that leads into their even like the issue of parents, elderly ones, being financially or economically dependent on the younger ones, when you should be the one handing finance and economy to the hands of the younger ones. You're waiting for them to go and do what they can and give to you. That also shows you the lack of ginger, the lack of willpower. They don't have that political willpower. They don't have that Pan-African willpower. They don't have that revolutionary willpower to make things right, even though they are aging. What do you think is causing it? What do you think is making them this lukewarm? Do you think religion has a role to play? Because you said that if we learn from our culture, we will respond differently.
Yes.
And it's not been in our culture to talk about that chick. It's not been in our culture not to be resilient. If you study our culture, if you study even our ancestors and how resilient they were and how they resisted even these things, these systems when it was currently being introduced, you know that they were not meek people. They were not the other chick people. They were not trying to inherit the earth because they are gentle. So what do we think is causing this lukewarmness in our elderly people? What do we think is making them?
Like I said, fear and hatred plays a role in it, because you have to understand. So look at now, freshly after colonization ended, look at even the manner at which colonization ended. The British find a way to sow a seed of discord amongst us, exalting some people, downplaying some people, segregating some people totally. So now that has brought in that hatred I talked about, hatred for ourselves, right? And because of that hatred
For ourselves, for our culture.
for our culture and everything, coupled with the hatred of our culture, we have found a way to like just
Yeah.
give up on Africa or anything Nigeria. We don't see it as something that is worth saving, worth dying for, because after all, I don't care about these people. Because one thing we need to understand, you cannot love Yoruba people and hate Igbo people and think Africa will be liberated. So you see the trick that they have played on our psyche. That's why even
Yeah.
our parents, so no matter how Yorubas try to exalt themselves, say let them say they do all the things right. Let's say they did free education. Alowolowo did free education, right? Did all those things. But where
Yeah.
did all those things end up at? This present day in Nigeria that is not working. You cannot free one person and say everybody will be free. No, you have to free everybody. That is the only way we can achieve. So now, because, like I said, there is no freedom for every group because there have been discord, hatred, fear amongst us. And this now made our parents very, very uncaring for Nigeria. That's why the point is our parents doesn't even care anymore for Nigeria to be better. What they now use, see where they now twist their brains. They now use religion to twist their brain in such a way that invest in your kids. Your children are the fruit of your labor. So you see now, every parent try to, not to the best of their ability though, but just try to, you know what, give their kids the little things to survive, hoping that, okay, in the next 20 years, next 30 years, my child will be something, he will be working in a high position, he will be working somewhere, and he will foot my bills. In fact, some parents didn't build house because they are hoping their children will build houses for them. Some parents didn't do many things, hoping their children will do it for them because instead of investing in Nigeria to be great, forgetting that Nigeria is your
Yes.
children is not Nigeria. Because you can invest in your children to be great. And if Nigeria is not great, your children will be poor. Because there's a lot of
They will be
graduates in
poor.
Nigeria, right? For Nigeria to be this poor, and we have this high number of graduates, what's going on? It shouldn't be so. We
What's
have
going
the
on?
population. It shouldn't be
What's
so.
going on?
Now, the reason why it is so is
Yes.
because
What's
our
even
parents
going on?
forgot that every nation has a connection to its children. If you invest in the nation, that's the collective, meaning we make sure that things are up to standard for the collective. You don't need to even send
Yeah.
you don't even need to invest. You see, you don't even need to send your children to university. They will be okay. You yourself don't even need to think of your children as a retirement plan. You'll be okay because you have already invested in
Yeah.
institutions
Yeah.
that are responsible. Because what our culture did is that it did not create many institutions, right? Our culture didn't create, let's say, immigration, police, or they didn't do that. What they did is that they created institutions personally, meaning they gave people the right to fend for themselves personally under a cultural bracket. So that's why everybody had farmland. Everybody could go to the river and drink water. Everybody could build a house. Everybody could do everything he needs to survive. Now, colonialism came.
Everybody was enabled.
Yes, everybody was enabled at the individual level. In turn, now enable the community.
Yeah.
Colonialism say that one bad. Make we
Yeah.
enable institutions. Make institutions they responsible for everything wey go benefit us as individuals.
Everything.
You see am now. Okay, we say na that
You
style we
see?
wan do.
Yeah.
As we say na that style we wan do, instead of make we properly develop these institutions, they were busy developing the individuals in those institutions. Now we are facing the problem.
Institutions. And that's where corruption.
The corruption came. We are facing the problem now. So many parents, the reason they were so interested in individualism. Okay, if I born pikin, I go do the best things for him, I go try. But you forget that no matter how you try for your child, we are facing, see, aside from racial wars, which we are facing internationally, which whether no matter how brilliant you are, as long as you are wearing this, there's a problem already. Even if you are the smartest man, you get this one, problem don't do. You get special place for you. Now, aside from that, in this Nigeria, in this Nigeria, okay, amongst ourselves, why then do we now, instead of let us find a solution, that, okay, institutions that we build or we want will represent the collective interest. We are busy thinking of individual. That is why our parents are where they are today, because they were busy thinking of themselves and their children, retirement plan. That's why many parents are financially dependent on their children instead of the government. Their children.
Yeah. They don't even leave wills anymore.
Ah.
I grew up hearing your father died and left will.
How
Other
can they?
parents died left will. Like sit down and debt, then they leave.
It can't be possible
Now,
anymore.
like, if they die, you could see all the people then they owe
It can't
money
be
go come, they
possible
come.
anymore.
See?
It's not possible anymore. How can you live with when all the institutions are taking everything from you? It can't be possible now. Look at
everything.
Look at today. You have Nigeria in a situation where every day, every money you are budgeting to the institution, at least 70% of it is going to individuals' pockets. 30% is now the ones that maybe the population will share among themselves. That's without middlemen. Middlemen go still inside 30%. So wetin come remain?
Yes.
So that's where I just feel like this is their problem, and which problem that we as the next generation need to learn from. Like, because this struggle, make we tell ourselves truth. Africa won't be free in the next 10 years. We understand, say yes, we hope for it to be like that, but in the next 10 years, because the level of distraction we many of our own youths get, we need to still, and not be saying all the youth we need to get on board. Like, we need to get at least a good number of them on board for when the revolution to start. And many of them don't even care.
He was just saying, if you can even have just a million conscious Nigerians, it is enough to make a change.
That is what I'm saying.
Just amazing, a million out of 100 million. Just a million.
It's enough to make a change.
It's enough to make a change.
It's enough to make a change, bro. It's enough to make a change. But you see, that million now, look me and you. Look, I went to your YouTube page. I look at the content you are putting. How many followers? Not up to 100 followers. I look at my own page since how many days now? TikTok. I don't see any follower again for my TikTok account. So you see someone talking about maybe even bashing Christianity or bashing Islam. You go see how they get views. I'm not saying don't bash or don't talk about things that affect you, but this is a tip in the iceberg of our problem.
It's just
like now we are having a conversation now. We didn't make the conversation all about religion, because religion is just one tool in the whole tool where these people get to use oppressors. And themselves know say the religion no fit last for long. That is why they are creating more tools to use. Because
other things to implement it,
yeah. So they are making more tools.
That's true.
But look now, people that are trying to speak about politics, that are saying, okay, get politicized. No, just know something where they happen. Nobody won't know. They won't know what Annie and Two-Face they do. I'm not saying make you don't know, but if you go know the one where still concern you now.
Will affect you as a person, affect you and your children.